tuning in today, everyone. I just want to let you know my book is out and available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The name is Parents Are Greatest Teachers. And now, back to our episode.
Everyone, this is your host, Alex Balgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today we have Angela Mcmillan. I hope I didn't.
Mcmillan, yes.
Mcmillan, yes. She's a Feldenkrais practitioner.
Yes.
Before we get into all that, thank you for being here today. I know we're in a different day. She's connecting with us from Australia. I'm here in the US, so it's a difference of a day. So it's kind of cool to connect. So thank you for being here today. And before you tell us exactly what Feldenkrais is, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how do you get to this point of being a practitioner?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me. I'm just always excited to be able to speak on this passion of mine around movement. So there's actually two prongs to my story, and the one that will probably be relevant to your audience is what happened second. The first story is how I discovered Feldenkrais. I came from a dance background. I thought I was the bomb dance movement. I had it, as you do, because you've spent hours on the dance floor training your body. I met my Feldenkrais practitioner and he moved so beautifully, more beautifully than any other dance teacher, yoga teacher I had before. I was like, what is that? And he wasn't a martial artist or anything like that. He did Feldenkrais. So I'm like, well, there's something in this. And at the time I was training as doing break dance. I was like B-girl. So this was like 22 years ago. I still like to think I'm a B-girl, but yeah, then I try it and okay, maybe not so much anymore, but and I was experimenting trying the windmill move. That's the move where your legs are flying in the air. And he said, go slow. Now you can see that when you see this move, you can see that you have to have the momentum to get around. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense, but I'll try it. And I was able to master it very quickly. So that's how I came to understand what Feldenkrais was. And then at the time I was like, this is cool. I'll do a training program. So over 20 years ago, 2000, I started my training program. So I did that for 5 years. And it wasn't until my second son was born and there was a lot of trauma happening in my life. Everything around me was falling apart. We've probably all been through those kind of situations. Mm-hmm. So my partner had left me, so I was dealing with all of that. My career was on the, I didn't know what was going to happen with my career. Just everything around me was crumbling, right? Mm-hmm. We've all been in those high stress, depression was setting in. And so this was 7 years ago. Oh, actually 8. He's 8 now. And I went to a stress relieving class for pregnant women. And I was sitting in the room and we're doing this breathing lesson. And so we're asked to, as you do to stress relieve, we start with breath. Breath is so important to calm the nervous system. And I was sitting there and they were directing us to listen to the sounds in the room and then listen to the sounds outside of the room, to connect, which was great. But for me, I was so stressed and I was like, this is not calming my system. I can hear this clock ticking. I can hear someone's mouth doing weird things. And, outside it was heavy rain. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to walk in the rain, heavily pregnant. What if I slip? My whole brain was just not calming down. I think the listeners can, understand and relate to that situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I thought to myself, Feldenkrais had breathing lessons. Let me go and go and look at those lessons again, because from my story, my dance story coming to Feldenkrais, I enjoyed the more dynamic lessons. Even though Feldenkrais is slow, gentle, we do have some lessons that can be quite challenging. And I'd kind of skipped over the more gentle, soft breathing lessons. In fact, I probably fell asleep during my training in those lessons because they're so like slow. So coming back to Feldenkrais and doing the breathing lessons helped me to navigate through that challenging time. And so that's my two stories of how I've used Feldenkrais in my own life and in my own journey. Yeah.
Nice. And tell us a little bit, because this is the first time I heard of this method. What exactly is Feldenkrais?
Feldenkrais. So it's, I'll tell you what you do in a class, which might be more relevant.
Okay.
We lie down on the floor. Most classes are lying, some are sitting, some are standing, but most of the time we lie down on the floor, which takes gravity out of the body. And we start with a body scan. Where are you in space? How do you feel? Where is your weight on the floor? How, what's lifting away from the floor? What's connected to the floor? And by doing that, we're connecting the brain to what's actually happening in the body, the nervous system. Then we do a series of slow movements with directed attention. So the teacher speaks out what the students do. We don't show. The reason we don't show is if you were to do the class and I was to teach, you would be saying to yourself, I'm not doing it like Angela. I need to do it like that. And that's not what Feldenkrais is. It's about your own experience and how your body moves. Now, some of the movements can be weird and novel because that's the way the brain learns best by novel movements. So the brain goes, oh, that's interesting. Oh, how can I do that? How can I try that? And putting constraints. So one lesson might be, okay, you have to hold your foot and move it here, here, and here. And so the brain says to the body, okay, how can I move this leg? What do the muscles need to do to be able to move that leg in those directions? And so that's the novelty of the movement. So therefore, it's a brain-body movement method with slow, directed attention, which then reduces the pain and tension that's in your body because the brain has a chance to understand what it's actually doing and what might be easier. Because the brain, given the choice, because often we've lost our choices with how we move because we get set in patterns and habits over the course of our life. So the brain has a chance to go, oh, well, that pattern of movement isn't serving this person, this body, your body. So what can I do that's simpler, easier, more effective, and with less pain? And so that's why a lot of people come to Feldenkrais with chronic pain and injury, often after they've done a lot of other methods. Whereas my journey, as I've just shared with you, wasn't from pain. It was to enhance my performance. So there's those two prongs. And then, of course, there's the mental health side, because when we are more connected to our body, then the brain gets that chance to calm the system, calm down. Yeah. So long explanation.
No. I really like that whole explanation, because that's what my next question was going to be. I was going to tell you, how do we use this method? How does this serve us? And you mentioned people come to you after injuries and for pain management.
Yes. Yeah, if you research Feldenkrais, that's most of the testimonials you'll find, that people with severe chronic pain for years tried everything, but they know that there's something out there, something else, like there has to be a solution, and there is, and they find the Feldenkrais method. My hope is that we get more known so that they don't have to try everything else and spend thousands of dollars and all of that pain and discomfort to then find us.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is a really good alternative for pain medicine, because that's something that obviously at the long run, it's what damages the most. And also I like that there's so many different methods out there, for all these other people. Like not one thing works for one person as the other.
Absolutely.
So one way, like one method, like let's say yoga might work for some people really well, but not for others. It might be too painful. Some people might find physical therapy really good, but for some other people it might be too not helpful. So I like that this is another alternative that we can use for certain things like that.
I will mention there's a lot of Feldenkrais practitioners that are also physiotherapy trained. And what they've had to do is relearn a lot of what they've learned in physiotherapy. Also, a lot of physiotherapists send people to Feldenkrais after they've done their initial recovery process, because there's only so much you can do with physiotherapy, and then that person needs to have more of a maintenance. And so that's where Feldenkrais can come in and pick up with the maintenance of the looking after the body's recovery.
Nice. What are some of the movements, if you can explain a little bit of what you do with people that comes with pain, that they've been for a long time with chronic pain, and they're like, tell me what to do because I just can't handle this anymore. I've explained what happens in a movement lesson, a group class. We also have a hands-on practice. And what's unique about Feldenkrais hands-on practice is we listen to what's going on in the body. So instead of going, okay, that hurts. All right, where does it hurt? Okay, let me pull on that and make it hurt more. We listen and find how much the person can do without pain. So moving them slowly, gently, and feeling their bodies. So our skeleton connects with their skeleton and gently guides them in those areas. And then what happens is we look at, okay, so if it's a knee injury, okay, what's happening at the hip? What's happening in the lower back? What's happening in the shoulders? Because it's a global system. Yeah, so we might not even touch the area that's in pain, but look at the other areas of the body where it might be stiff and tight and loosen them, which helps that area that has the pain. What do you think it's the goal on this method? Is it releasing, or how does this helps? Is it by releasing or just connecting the mind and body as we're doing the movement?
Yes, connecting the mind and the body. Yeah. I will say that often, Feldenkrais does not believe, we don't believe in reaching a goal or getting somewhere. It's the process of moving. Yeah. And so a lot, like with a lot of alternative medicines, we are considered alternative medicine, we cannot say you will have this at the end, right? Because everybody is different, as we've mentioned, it happens differently for everyone. But what may happen is so many surprising other things. So people come to me and then a few days later, they've had an amazing night's sleep because of Feldenkrais, and that wasn't something they've come for, right? But their body has rested well. Or they might find themselves more creative, or they might find themselves spontaneously dancing, or all these other things that could happen in the process of really connecting the body and the brain. But yeah, the goal, I guess, if you want to say a goal, is to be more internally connected, the nervous system to the brain, to reduce that sympathetic, to reduce the tension and anxiety within the body. I
like that. I like that it's and I like that you called it a global system, right? Is that how you call it?
Yes.
That's genius.
Yes. Moshe Feldenkrais, the creator, was a genius. Absolutely. He came from a scientific background. So because a lot of practices, you're like, oh, I've got a sore knee. Can I help my knee? Well, okay, great. Yes. And what else is happening in the body. So many things are like, they focus on that body part rather than the whole system. And we are an integrated moving system. So, yeah.
Yes, I think that's super, very important for everyone to understand that a lot of, just like what you said, the example of the knee, we have so many access through the body that it's the knee and the hip and the shoulder and so and the neck. So if one of those is not properly in place, is going to affect all the other ones. It has like this ripple effect on all the body parts, and consequently it will affect your other side. So if now if the in your part was the right side, because you're compensating, now your left side also will be like damaged or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I just really am like, yes, it's a global system. I really, I love that, how you really put it that way, because it just, in any healing method, it's so important to understand that we're all connected. It's not just one body part. I'm going to go fix my hand, I'm going to go fix my knee. It's about seeing how your whole body is functioning.
Yeah.
And also that it's not just the physical part, but also mind, body, and soul mostly,
Yes.
just to see how we're working. So I love that this system puts all those three things in place. And you mentioned that the nerve system. Why is it important for us to connect mind and body so our nerve system can learn different ways?
Yeah. So important, especially in the time we're living in. We all know that we've experienced a collective trauma. And I believe the usual self-care practices are just not going to cut it anymore. We need to get to the root cause to calm the nervous system, get it out of the fight, flight, freeze, because whatever experience people have had over the last few years, it's probably brought up other traumas in our body. And that's why it's so important to calm that nervous system. So you can be more productive, be more connected, be more, be able to, I know the studies show now that there's so many people struggling with productivity and making higher order thinking decisions, they're procrastinating, and that's all because of what they've experienced. And whether they really understand or realize that, it's just their own journey, I guess. But everybody needs to find a deeper connection into themselves, I believe.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
Important.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
And one question will be because I've never heard of this. I was so glad you actually reached out to me, because I'm like, this is amazing. How is there videos now? How can people find practitioners like you to
just a Google search. There's usually in every city or every country, there's a Feldenkrais guild. So you can go to the guild website and look up if there's a practitioner in your area. There are some YouTube channels. I actually have a YouTube channel as well. And I also have, a lot of us do teach online now, but what I've built is the Movement Online Academy, where I bring a lot of practitioners together, and we have workshops, online lessons, and we have these fireside chats, kind of like a panel of, it is a panel of speakers that come together and talk on a topic. So yesterday we actually had one on strength training and Feldenkrais. There's a lot of practitioners that are yoga teachers as well. So the next talk we're going to have, I was going to mention that when you mentioned yoga, Feldenkrais is so great for people practicing yoga, because it gives them a perspective of their body that they don't get in yoga. So they pair really well. So we'll have a talk on that. So yeah, that's where you can find about yoga. I mean, yoga and Feldenkrais, but also, yeah, coming into my community to, get to know about this method, because we share lots of articles and videos and have the classes. So then you can have a taste of kind of a few different practitioners and decide for yourself. Of course, I'd love people to come to my classes, but it may not be right for you, for your own body. So
I love that. I love that. And it is so amazing that, you know, I know COVID was not great in the world, but I think brought something really cool. And it's that we can actually connect with other, with practitioners of different methods, like yourself, through the internet.
yeah.
So a lot of people can connect with different practitioners, whether it's yoga, Pilates, you know, anything. You could just reach out to people online. Do you do a lot of online coaching?
Actually, I was just going to mention, so
Reading your mind.
So along with being a Feldenkrais practitioner, I have actually been teaching online for 7 years, actually, 7th year. And when I first started, I had practitioners ask me, how are you doing that? And I actually love all the technology. Some people don't. I love it. I love, like, you know, working out how it all fits together. And so I started coaching my colleagues, my Feldenkrais colleagues. And during the pandemic, during lockdown, everyone went online. And that's when they're like, Angela, we need you. And I'm like, finally, they've come online. So yes, I do have the Embodiment Business Network, which is where I coach practitioners, mostly movement specialists, not only Feldenkrais, but yoga, Pilates, anyone that's in the movement space, how to bring their practice online, not just to teach classes, but how to set up their system, their email marketing, how to create a course, what course to create, content, how to write content that's effective in communicating what they offer the world. So yeah.
I love that. We'll definitely will be connecting. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we go?
Well, yes, I would love to share a little 5 questions. Let's actually call this a party trick.
Yes.
Because, you know, self-care tips are all done and dust, you know, everyone does that. This is a party trick. And this is 5 questions to ask of your body when you do feel that tension, stress, anxiety rising, because what that is an old pattern which kept us safe back in the day. There's a tiger coming, we need to act. But there's no tigers usually in the city these days. So to begin, just connect with the ground. How are you connected to the ground? So if you're sitting, feel your sit bones, feel your feet on the ground. If you're standing, if you're washing dishes, listening to this or driving, you can still do it, but don't close your eyes. But just feel how you're connected. Next, so that's the first question. How are you connected to the ground? The second is, are your hands tight? You feel tension in your hands, just release them. And then that should feel that it travels up to your shoulders and releases your arms. Are your feet tight? So third question, release your feet and feel all the way up into your hip joints. Next, take a breath. That's question 4. And just listen to the breath. Don't change anything. Just notice, okay, I'm breathing. Yes. And then with your eyes, look off into the distance and then back into something in front of you. So that's the 5 questions. How are you connected to the ground? Are your hands tense? Are your feet tense? Listen to your breath and check around you. There are no tigers, so you can get back to work. And so that should bring you back into your body, and hopefully you can then go on with the rest of your day.
I love that. I love that. I think we should do that in the morning to be just ready and set for the day. I really like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela, for being here today. This was super great. I'm definitely trying this method. As I said, I've never heard of it. I think it's great. I think any method that takes us back to, feeling our body and connecting our mind with our body in different ways as we're used to, I think it's always helpful. So I think everybody should give it a try if you can. So I will put all her information in the show notes. So if you guys want to connect with her for her coaching calls and classes or sessions with her, you guys can all do that online. And please do connect with her. She's an amazing practitioner. So try it out. Let us know how it goes, and message me too. Also, if you would like to connect with me, you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Remember, my book is out. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. You can find it on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. And thank you, Angela, for connecting from around the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Bye.